Like in a joint military operation, USA and Israel bombed Iran. Iran launched counterattacks in the Gulf. I think the attacks are aimed at regime change, and one eye on Iran's oil. Risky misadventure. If Russia intervenes, war will escalate. Rumors are rife that Cuba is the next target of the predator.
We're diving straight into a story that's shaking the world. On 28th February, Israel and the US launched a coordinated attack on Iran. The massive escalation came just 8 months after the 12-day war between Israel and Iran in June 2025, and importantly, in the midst of indirect talks between the US and Iran mediated by Oman. Now, Israel described it as a preemptive strike, while US President Donald Trump called it the start of major combat operations aimed at neutralizing threats from the Iranian regime. The attacks were codenamed Lion's Roar by Israel and Operation Epic Fury by the US. Explosions rocked Tehran and beyond, with plumes of smoke rising over the capital's skyline. The first wave of airstrikes reportedly hit the compound housing Iran's 86-year-old supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Now, it was a symbolic but direct shot at the heart of the regime. Other blasts echoed in Isfahan, home to major nuclear facilities, Qom, a religious and strategic hub, Karach near Tehran, which has military installations, and Kermanshah in the west, which houses missile bases. Now, US and Israeli officials said that the goals were to 1. Dismantle Iran's missile and military capabilities, 2. Obliterate its nuclear program, and 3. Ultimately push for regime change. President Trump called on the Iranian people to take over the government. He called on Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to lay down its arms or face certain death. But Iran didn't sit idle though. It fired back almost immediately, targeting a US military base in Bahrain. Explosions were reported in Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia, targeting US assets. Israel heard air raid sirens as incoming fire lit up the skies. Now, this tit-for-tat is spreading fast, pulling in allies and risking a wider war. These strikes signal President Trump's impatience and a willingness to act unilaterally. At the same time, they could force Iran to harden its stance. For the world, it raises oil prices, rattles markets, and heightens fears of a nuclear arms race or broader conflict involving Russia or China. President Trump, who promised no new wars, admitted that American lives may be lost as he launched the attack on Iran. So has he given up on his quest for the Nobel Peace Prize? And if that is true, will he drag the world into another endless war? That's the question.
Tonight, Donald Trump says Iran's supreme leader is dead as fears grow for all-out war in the Middle East. US and Israeli airstrikes have targeted operations in Iran, and it's called Epic Fury. The president tells the Iranian people now is the time to overthrow the regime.
When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take.
Iran has retaliated, hitting many countries in the Gulf, including their residential buildings.
Like Pakistan declared war on Afghanistan and bombed Kabul. Our suicide bombers are ready, retorted Afghanistan. Fire and fury. Pakistan bombs Taliban targets, wiping out 264 militants after declaring open war as strikes rock Kabul. Pakistan has declared an open war against Afghanistan and vowed a crushing response as both countries launched overnight strikes. Kabul was rocked by deadly Pakistani blitzes after the Taliban attacked border troops on Thursday following months of tit-for-tat clashes. Pakistan's Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif Chaudhry told reporters that 274 Taliban regime members and terrorists were killed with 12 Pakistani troops lost in the operation. Yet Taliban government spokesman Zabihullah Mujahid claimed his forces killed 55 Pakistani soldiers and captured others. He said that just 13 Afghan troops had been killed. Like Danish PM Mette Frederiksen has called early elections a referendum on Greenland.
Denmark is heading to a parliamentary election on the 24th of March in what is shaping up to be a high-stakes and potentially decisive vote centered on Greenland, global tensions and pressure at home. Danish Prime Minister Frederiksen called the election as her approval ratings climb, fueled by her firm response to renewed interest from US President Donald Trump in annexing Greenland. She has flatly rejected any suggestion of selling the Arctic territory and rallied European allies behind Denmark's sovereignty.
I ved, hvad jeg står for.
You know what I stand for. Whether I should continue to be your Prime Minister, that depends on how strong a mandate you give the Social Democrats. The parliamentary election will be held on March 24th, 2026, because much suggests that it will be a close election. It will be an important election. Yes. It will also be a decisive election, because it will be in the coming 4 years that we as Danes and we as Europeans will truly have to stand on our own. We must define our relationship with the United States. We must rearm and secure peace on our continent. We must stick together in Europe, and we must secure the future of the Danish Commonwealth.
Like French prosecutors are probing the Al-Fayeds. Mohammed Al-Fayed, owner of Harrods and Fulham Club, died in 2023. There are 154 complaints of sexual harassment. His son Dodi died with Diana in a motor crash.
French police launch investigation into Al-Fayed sex trafficking allegations. French police have launched an investigation into sex trafficking linked to the disgraced businessman Mohammed Al-Fayed, who died 2 years ago. The police investigation, ordered by the Paris prosecutor's office, will focus on potential acts of aggravated human trafficking with multiple victims, according to correspondence seen by the BBC. Prostitution and 1 case of rape are also being investigated. Al-Fayed's Ritz Hotel in Paris will likely be a target of the investigation, amid claims from victims that staff knew about or facilitated the abuse of women.
Like in UK, PM Starmer suffered humiliating defeats in by-elections, fallout of Epstein files. But Starmer hangs on.
It's a very disappointing result. Incumbent governments quite often get results like that mid-term, but I do understand that voters are frustrated, they're impatient for change. And I came into politics, late in life as it happens, to fight for change for those people who need it, the people who need an NHS that works for them, to be able to get a doctor's appointment when they need it, to get the money they need in their pockets to pay their bills, and to have a decent and better life. And I will keep on fighting for those people for as long as I've got breath in my body. I will also fight against the extremes in politics, on the right and the left, parties who want to tear our country apart. The Labour Party is the only party that unite our country and our communities, and we will line up together in that fight against the extremes of the left and the right for the values that we believe in.
Hello and welcome to Medical Dialogues. I'm Anshika Mishra. Here's what I bring to you from the world of medicine. HbA1c may not reliably reflect blood sugar levels in many Indians, Lancet viewpoint. A new evidence-based viewpoint published in the Lancet Regional Health Southeast Asia has raised concerns about the reliability of the widely used glycated hemoglobin, which is the HbA1c test for diagnosing and monitoring type 2 diabetes in India. The review suggests that in populations with high rates of anemia, hemoglobinopathies, and G6PD deficiency, HbA1c level may not accurately reflect average blood glucose. HbA1c measures the glycation of hemoglobin and is commonly used to assess long-term blood sugar control. However, any condition that affects the quantity, structure, and the lifespan of red blood cells can distort HbA1c readings. In India, where iron deficiency, anemia, and inherited blood disorders are prevalent in several regions, this limitation could affect millions. Co-author Dr. Shankar Joshi from Mumbai highlighted that even in advanced urban hospitals, HbA1c results can be influenced by red blood cell variation. In rural and tribal regions, where anemia and genetic blood disorders are more common, discrepancies may be greater. The review warns that sole reliance on HbA1c could delay diabetes diagnosis by up to 4 years in men and undetected G6PD deficiency, potentially increasing the risk of complications. India currently has over 100 million people living with diabetes, with many cases remaining undiagnosed. The disease is no longer confined to affluent or urban populations. It is increasingly affecting younger adults in rural communities. Delayed or inaccurate diagnosis can lead to long-term damage to the heart, kidneys, eyes, and nerves. Recommended approach to monitoring is that author propose a resource-adapted framework for India. In low research settings, use oral glucose tolerance test, which is the OGTT, for diagnosis and self-monitoring of blood sugar 2 or 3 times per week, combined with basic hematologic screening. In tertiary care settings, combine standardized HbA1c testing with the OGTT for diagnosis and use continuous glucose monitoring along with alternative markers such as fractosamine for monitoring. Where necessary, conduct iron studies, hemoglobin electrophoresis, and quantitative G6PD testing. Now, the review concludes that while HbA1c remains a valuable tool, it should not be used in isolation in India's diverse population. A combined, context-specific approach to diagnosis and monitoring may help prevent delayed treatment and reduce diabetes-related complications.
Like Thai PM, a Newton needs a partner to form government. Wish him good luck.
Thai Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul's Phumjai Thai party won a clear victory in Sunday's general election. The win raises the prospect that a more stable coalition may now succeed in bringing an end to a period of political instability that has long plagued Southeast Asia's second-largest economy.
Like, it is reported that the Queen Elizabeth lent £12 million to Prince Andrew to pay off Virginia Giafar. Andrew is called Credit CAD by British newspapers.
Did Queen Elizabeth help pay Prince Andrew's settlement with Virginia Giuffre? According to The Telegraph, the total amount of the settlement, which hasn't been officially disclosed, is more than $16 million. And the Queen will contribute a portion from her private Duchy of Lancaster estate. In other words, the public taxpayers will not be paying for it. But why? The Telegraph reports it's allegedly because the Queen wants to allow, quote, her son and the entire royal family to draw a line under the case that had threatened to overshadow her Platinum Jubilee this year. Buckingham Palace told People when contacted for comment that they have, quote, never commented on the financial aspects of the Duke's private legal affairs and won't be now. It was announced on Tuesday that Prince Andrew had settled a lawsuit brought by Giuffre, a woman who alleges that he sexually abused her when she was a minor, according to a new court filing obtained by NBC News. The sum of money that the 61-year-old has agreed to pay his accuser has not been disclosed, but the filing noted that the prince will also make a substantial donation to Miss Giuffre's charity in support of victims' rights.
Like Mexican drug lord El Mencho was killed in a military operation. His henchmen set Mexico on fire. Power of the underworld. Oseguera Cervantes, known as El Mencho, consolidated one of Mexico's most powerful criminal organizations due to a unique franchise-based structure. On February 22, the Mexican army killed Ruben Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, the longtime leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG.
Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho, spent a decade as the most wanted criminal in the Western Hemisphere and remained invisible to the agencies hunting him. He co-founded the Jalisco New Generation Cartel around 2010 and built it into a global empire with breathtaking speed, specializing in the drugs of the modern era, methamphetamine and fentanyl. The US State Department designated his cartel a foreign terrorist organization in early 2025. Washington put a $15 million bounty on his head. He survived by trusting almost no one, moving constantly, never photographed, always rumored to be dead, until Sunday.
Jimmy Lai, the pro-democracy former Hong Kong media tycoon and a fierce critic of Beijing, is sentenced to 20 years in prison in one of the most prominent cases, prosecuted under a China-imposed national security law. 3 government-vetted judges have spared the 78-year-old Lai the maximum penalty of life imprisonment. The case has raised concerns about declining press freedom in Hong Kong. His sentencing could heighten Beijing's diplomatic tensions with foreign governments. The case accused Lai of conspiring with others to request foreign sanctions against Hong Kong and China. 6 former Apple Daily staffers and 2 activists received jail terms between 6 years and 3 months and 10 years.
Like Hillary Clinton deposed before a committee on Epstein connection. She demanded that Trump to be compelled to depose. And Bill Gates admitted that his friendship with Epstein was a big mistake, but numerous affairs were not.
I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein. I never went to his island. I never went to his homes. I never went to his offices. So it's on the record numerous times. It then got, at the end, quite unusual because I started being asked about UFOs and a series of questions about Pizzagate, one of the most vile, bogus conspiracy theories that was propagated on the internet, that was serving as the basis of a member's questions to me. So I can only say that the best exchange that I had came at the very end, when, contrary to every other deposition they have taken, no Republican member asked any questions about Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell to anyone else they have deposed. And in fact, the Republican members didn't even show up for the deposition of Les Wexner.
Former President Bill Clinton will be deposed by the House Oversight Committee.
This comes a day after his wife, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, testified to the same committee as part of the congressional investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Hillary Clinton spoke to reporters after testifying, making it clear that she did not know Epstein. And the Clintons have repeatedly denied any wrongdoing and have not been accused of any crimes related to Epstein. Democrats say the deposition should have been public and want the transcript and full video to be released within 24 hours.
There was a brief pause in yesterday's questioning after unauthorized photos were sent to a conservative influencer. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert from Colorado sent the picture to Benny Johnson, who then posted them to social media.
President Trump is slamming the Supreme Court this morning after their bombshell ruling on Friday. That ruling blocked his across-the-board tariffs. The president then took to social media, calling the high court incompetent. He said they did a great job for the wrong people, and for that, they should be ashamed of themselves. He went on to say, let the Supreme Court keep making decisions that are so bad and deleterious to the future of our nation. I have a job to do. Meanwhile, administration officials are also doubling down on the president's trade policy. U.S. Trade Representative Jamison Greer says the White House will stand by the trade agreements already made.
We want them to understand that these deals are going to be good deals. We expect to stand by them. We expect our partners to stand by them. And I haven't heard anyone yet come to me and say the deal's off. They want to see how this plays out. I'm in active conversation with them on it.
Okay, let's go live outside the White House to CBS Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes. Nancy, thank you for your time today. How is the president now justifying raising tariffs after Friday's Supreme Court ruling?
Mugo, he is pivoting to a new congressional justification from the statute that the Supreme Court ruled on Friday in a 6-3 decision was insufficient. Now he's focused on a new statute, never been tested before, that would allow him to raise tariffs to 15%, but only in certain situations and only short term for 150 days. So there are a lot of questions about whether this is actually legal. The White House is nevertheless blasting ahead, and the president is sending out a series of warnings today via Truth Social about any country that doubts his ability to impose tariffs in this fashion. He said any country that wants to play games with the ridiculous Supreme Court decision, buyer beware. And then he once again insisted he has the authority to do this no matter what the Supreme Court says. He says, as president, I do not have to go back to Congress to get approval for tariffs. So clearly the president not cowed by this 6-3 decision on Friday that he labeled as disloyal. He says that he still thinks that he has the ability to impose these tariffs one way or the other.
Like in sports, India just about survived in WC. Our team doesn't play like champions, does it?
It's now a straight shootout. India versus West Indies at the Eden Gardens. 65,000 plus will be wanting to see what is the current situation. Will India go through? Will West Indies go through to the semi-final?
Captain, Agent Lisbon, Jane, consultant. What do we have here?
Thanks for stepping in. Homicide unit owes you one. Jane, you're that psychic fella. Right. Me? I don't buy into that ESP crap. No offense. None taken. Here we have Ivar Rasmussen, age 34, address River Park. No sign of the murder weapon. Store security was on the scene pretty fast. We were able to detain everybody who was in the section at the time. We're holding them over in the furniture department. So, Karnak, what does Ivar say? He tell you who done it?
Leather pants, musky cologne, phallic jewelry, a ladies' man. Went after high-end cougars with moderate success. Casual cocaine user, plays guitar, not well, works in the non-creative end of a creative business. Advertising, maybe, nothing worth killing anyone over anyway. So he died for romantic reasons. Where are those suspects you mentioned?
Your witnesses?
Whatever.
Take it down a notch. Hey, take it down 3 notches.
It's okay. Under control. Get this done quick and be on our way. Hello, we're from the CBI. May well be that one of you is the murderer.
And finally, let me end by quoting Bertrand Russell. I have learnt about life, it goes on. Lazy Bee. February 28, 2026.